Emmy Noether was one of the most important mathematicians of all time. This acclaimed math guy Albert here wrote, Fraulein Noether was the most significant creative mathematical genius thus far produced since the higher education of women began. She was born to a Jewish family in Germany in 1882. Her mom was from Wealth, and her pops was a mathematician and lecturer at the University of Erlangen. When she initially went to college, she was one of just 2 women at the university, and she had to get permission from each professor specifically just to audit classes. Despite the misogynistic hurdles she had to clear just to be educated at all, in 1903 she passed a graduation exam. Then in 1904, Germany announced that they'd start legitimately letting women attend university. So she went back and got her PhD in 3 years, completing it in 1907. She spent 7 years teaching math at the university as an assistant without pay. Then in 1915, that Albert dude dropped general relativity, so shit was about to get shaken up in the mathosphere. All the while, she was making a name for herself as a mathematician. In 1915, David Hilbert and Felix Klein at the University of Göttingen asked her to come work on some math shits with them. They needed her expertise because they were having a hard time making Einstein's equations conserve energy in certain situations. Well, she showed up at the university and the other professors flipped out. They were like, oh, what will our soldiers think when they return to the university and find they are required to learn at the feet of a woman? But old Hilbert was like, I do not see that the sex of the candidate is an argument against her admission. We are a university, not a bathhouse. Anyway, the chump-ass professors won out and she continued working at the university without pay. Pretty much right away, Emmy solved their problem with conservation. And in the process, she came up with a legit, world-changing mathematical theorem that would become known as Noether's theorem. I'm going to be honest, Noether's theorem is leagues above my mathematical understanding, but I'm going to try to take a stab at it anyway. There were 2 ideas in mathematics that were previously unlinked to the degree that Noether's theorem linked them: conservation and symmetry. There are all sorts of laws like conservation of energy. If you huck a ball in the air, it goes from kinetic energy to potential energy at its zenith, back to kinetic energy on its downfall, and the total energy remains the same. Well, she found out and elegantly showed that there's some shit that matters and some shit that doesn't matter when you change a system. Say you hucked a ball today, and it would act the same if you hucked it the same way 100 years ago. Then her theory tells you that time symmetry doesn't matter and energy is conserved. Or say you're in one gymnasium, and you go to another gymnasium 1,000 miles away with the same temperature, humidity, and gravity. If you shoot the same, your shot's gonna be the same. Then if where you're at doesn't matter, translational symmetry is the same, so linear momentum is conserved. With that, she changed the mathosphere for good, and stayed doing good maths in Germany until the Nazis started gaining power. And in 1933, her and other Jewish professors were fired. Later that year, she made a voyage to America and accepted a position at Bryn Mawr College in Pennsylvania. Just a few years later, doctors found a cantaloupe-sized ovarian cyst in her, and she died from complications after the surgery.